warned storm, and those lines indicate that that would suggest that a tornado is possible. Nothing confirmed yet, but because of that circulation and because of the strength of that circulation, a tornado warning has been issued. All right, let's work our way down the line, because now the line of thunderstorms is about to move in and up and down the line. For instance, you can see there at Talco how that line was bulging out a little bit. So some very strong winds will be found there. We're also seeing strong winds right now moving out of Rains County into and over most of Wood County at this time. So Mineola is seeing the rain, and you've seen it up at Lake Fork, you've seen it at Quitman. You're now starting to see it move into the eastern edges of Wood County, up toward Winsboro. Winsboro right now getting some heavy rainfall and a heavy thunderstorm coming down there. It's just starting to move into northwestern Smith County. Currently, Smith County is under a severe thunderstorm warning until 9:45. In fact, the Weather Service has gone ahead and issued a severe thunderstorm warning for this entire area up until 9:45, even though the storms themselves are probably an hour away from some of these locations. But the confidence in the line making it all the way through the watch box or the warned area is so high that they can go ahead and warn that downstream more than an hour. So let's take a look at some of the cities that it will be moving into. Lindale, 8:52. So that's right on the doorstep. It's 8:46 right now, so 6 minutes. Tornado or a severe thunderstorm warning rolls into Lindale. In Pittsburgh, that's 8:58. So you're going to get that portion of the storm. Anywhere along the leading edge of this storm, we could be talking about 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. That's been the history of this line if you go all the way back to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. The line has been producing 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. Gilmer, 9:06. So Gilmer's way over here. You're still several miles away from the leading edge of the thunderstorms. You may feel the winds coming in first, and then the rain and the thunder make it to Gilmer about 9:06. Dangerfield at 9:14, Gladewater at 9:23. So on down the line, these showers and thunderstorms will continue to move. Again, you can see they look a little ragged in some spots, but there is certainly enough wind being produced from these storms as they've been moving through the area. On down the line, we come into Henderson County and also into Anderson County, and along that leading edge, you can see those indications that there are some strong winds and dangerous lightning for sure, and some heavy downpours out of this. Also, just kind of watching along the line there for these little notches that kind of turn in here. We have to keep an eye on those. That's where we could have these little spin-ups, and those spin-ups would, of course, create quick tornadoes, and then that could do some damage. So that's one of the reasons that you've got these severe thunderstorm warnings going all the way across the area. In fact, that one goes into Anderson County and Palestine through about 9:15. But this portion of the line will brush across the southern part of Tyler at about 9:09, Tyler Pounds at 9:02, Jacksonville at 9:30, Kilgore, if it continues moving to the east, that whole line, remember that's the whole line up and down, so it makes it up to Kilgore at 9:36 and Rusk at 9:45. So that's more than an hour away, but again, the storms are moving steadily to the east at 45 miles an hour, showing no signs of weakening, moving into an environment that should support this line and maintain that line at its current strength. So severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued up and down the line there. Grapeland and Crockett are also in line for some showers and thunderstorms and some severe weather down to the south. You can see this storm here looks particularly heavy near Franklin. Our Titan indicator showing some hail within that storm as it moves east. That severe thunderstorm warning leads right up to the Houston County line, Trinity County line to about 9:30 tonight. So if you're in Crockett, expect the thunderstorms to arrive in Crockett at about 9:44, perhaps in Grapeland about 9:38, Elkhart at 9:27. So about 45 minutes to about an hour from now, those thunderstorms will be in your backyard, on your front doorstep, something of that nature. So you're going to expect a lot of wind, of course, the heavy rain, lightning, always a possibility with these thunderstorms as they move to the east. But again, we came on air first with the tornado-warned storm over northern Franklin County and a portion of Titus County, and that is radar indicated, but certainly a possibility here, especially when we have our Titan indicator showing that very strong rotation within that cell. In fact, Chandler Jordan, if you can click on that Titan indicator and see exactly what we're looking at, but this This boxed area here would indicate severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible. In fact, we're getting a little bit of a tornado impact at around a 2.5. The wind impact is much greater. It's almost up to a 9. Hail and flood impacts are going to be lower than that. We expect the wind impact to be the highest out of all of these impacts as the storms move eastward. Hail sizes are there, approaching quarter-sized hail. The probability of at least some hail inside that storm currently sitting at about 80%, and the probability that it is quarter-sized hail is less than 50%. So really, I think the big impacts off that storm are going to be some strong gusty winds and maybe some small hail as that storm continues moving east at 23 miles an hour. That's just outside of Argo, but Daphne is inside. I would call this the polygon. Tauco also right in there. This storm now looks like it is passing to the north of Tauco as it heads up toward Box Elder, just southeast of Bogota. It's going to continue toward DeKalb, over toward Boston, and if it continues moving all the way over toward Ashdown, moving at about 50 miles an hour, it would be up in that region here within about an hour from now, right around 9:46. But that's where we stand right now. So we've got that tornado warned portion of the line to the north. We'll keep an eye on these other cells as they move in, because what may happen is they may produce another quick spin-up tornado. And the Weather Service is watching that very carefully, so we were watching that on our radar. Every time it scans, we kind of wait and see exactly what we get out of that. But right now, it's what it's looking like at this time. So Chandler's zooming in here. There's Tauco, and again, red, green, green going toward the radar. This time, I think we're talking about going over toward Shreveport and away. So it's there. It doesn't look particularly tight, not perhaps as tight as the circulation we saw over toward Picton earlier this evening that did do the tornado damage, but it is there, and it's enough because it's nighttime to get this warning and take it seriously as it moves out of Johntown now. So I think if you live in Johntown, you're okay. And even at Tauco, wait about 5 minutes, and then maybe you can emerge from your shelter. Hopefully you are in your shelter and taking these precautions and taking these storms seriously. This goes until 9:15 tonight. That's how long the tornado warning for northeastern Franklin County, northern Titus County. So just to the north of Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant, city of Mount Pleasant, not included in that. Camp County and Pittsburgh not included in that. But again, surrounding that area, and you'll see all of these yellow boxes, these are severe thunderstorm warnings that go at least until 9 o'clock, if not 9:15, for counties such as Upshur County and Wood County, which now the thunderstorms are moving into Wood County and starting to move into Upshur County at this time. We'll go down the line a little bit and look at Smith County. It looks like they're just starting to move into Smith County. We do have our Chase Bank building camera. It's pointed out in that direction, so maybe we can get a look from that and see if we can see any of the lightning that is coming in. And we'd first start to see, of course, the lightning before the thunderstorms would get there. There's also the possibility tonight that you will feel the winds before the rain and the thunder. And I'm talking about feeling the winds maybe 10 minutes ahead of time. A lot of the winds are being pushed out from this strong line of thunderstorms well in advance of the rain and the thunder. So there's a possibility that out here toward Tyler Pounds, you're going to feel that maybe 10 minutes before the rain gets there. But Tyler Pounds 9:05 is when we expect the thunderstorms to move into that part of town. Downtown Tyler 9:12, White House at 9:24, and then Jacksonville at 9:34, and Kilgore at around 9:41. If we zoom in on this portion of Smith County, we might be able to give you kind of almost a minute-by-minute account of when that storm is going to move in. Of course, remember we have Chandler out here to the west, and we've got Swan. So there's Lindale. It's right on the doorstep of Lindale. You come down to Swan. It'll be there probably within the next 5 minutes. Brownsboro, it's knocking on the door in Brownsboro. Moore Station, LaRue, Coffee City, probably about 10 to 15 minutes away from there. Noonday would be on that same par as arrival time for Tyler Pound. So noonday, you're likely going to see those thunderstorms move in about 9:06. Bullard shortly thereafter. I think we had Tyler at about 9:15. So Bullard would also get those thunderstorms at 9:15-ish. White House 9:25. New Chapel Hill would also be 9:25 up toward Browning. About 9:25, Winona would be in that same ballpark, as these now are kind of all together and moving to the east. Also seeing now some rotation being indicated by our Titan indicator out toward that storm, out toward Martins Mill to the northwest of Murchison. Lightning has increased a bit with this storm. not good to see. The lightning sometimes can be an indicator of the strength of the supercell, and so that has strengthened within the last few minutes. And now that probability of hail in there is 70%. It is showing a small tornado impact and a small wind impact. So perhaps it's more about the hail with that, but a thunderstorm that rotates can create a strong updraft, and then it can support those hailstones, and they can grow larger and larger. Haven't heard a whole lot of reports of hail within these cells so far, so this could be another component to the storms as they march to the east. Those dark red areas would certainly be supportive of strong updrafts, a lot of moisture in those thunderstorms as they're moving in. So if it's not hail, it's a lot of heavy rain that is right now on the doorstep of New Harmony. So if you live in New Harmony, get ready. It's going to start to rain really hard here any minute. Moore Station, within about 5 minutes, we'll see it coming down. Frankston, I think you're still about 10 minutes away from seeing the heavy rain come in. Again, if Bullard is about 9:15, Mount Selman's going to be in that same ballpark about 9:15. Lindale, again, we've been looking at Lindale. Maybe we can go in on Lindale, zoom right in on Lindale, give everybody, you can see here coming down 69 out of Mineola, right on the northwest side of town. There's County Road 436 Hideaway, Thedford, right now sitting right on the edge of those thunderstorms. So Lindale and Thedford, you're going to feel the rain and the thunder come down pretty good here real soon. Live Oak Drive is seeing some heavy rain. Farm to Market Road 1253, heavy rainfall. County Road 452, it's right there on your doorstep up toward Horde. Also some heavier rain coming down, and over toward County Road 457. We're also seeing the heavier rain moving into those areas there. And this will continue pushing south and east, should be in downtown Lindale within the next 5 minutes. This is a severe thunderstorm warned storm. The possibility here is winds that could be in excess of 60 miles an hour. We've had reports, and it has a history out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of producing as much as 80-mile-per-hour winds, but we have not heard anything that strong as it has moved out of the DFW. It's been more in line of 60 to 70 miles an hour as it continues moving eastward. So these storms pack a punch as they move in down 110 toward Carroll. Also seeing that heavier rain. Look at the thunderstorm here toward Ben Wheeler, Colfax, Martinsville. That's a very heavy thunderstorm that's headed toward Edom, and that will continue pushing toward Tyler and the western edges of Smith County. So it's just kind of now slowly descending upon us from the west and then from the northwest and moving southeastward toward the city, moving down toward Tyler. I think when it gets here, we're going to have, maybe we could have some power outages with the lightning and the wind also. We'll wait and see exactly how that plays out. Haven't heard of any power outages out to the west yet, but that's something that we'll check on, of course. Murchison, right now getting that heavier thunderstorm down toward Leagueville and over toward Brownsboro. So we've been concentrating here on Smith County as these thunderstorms are moving in. We could easily go back up to the north a little bit and look at Wood and Upshur County. Once these storms move out of Wood and Upshur, Hawkins is right on the doorstep. We've been having a lot of folks watching on our Facebook feeds tonight from Hawkins. Well, the rain is almost there. The thunder's almost there. We talked about a arrival time of about 8:30 to 9 o'clock. Pittsburgh right on the doorstep. Gilmer, a few more minutes, and then the rain and thunder will be there. The lightning strikes are not super impressive, but they've been getting a little bit stronger. We're seeing more and more lightning as the storms approach closer and closer to our area. Right now, the rain might be letting up just a little bit at Mineola, certainly letting up back at Emory. Again, once you get through this first push of wind and rain, you'll settle in behind in just a general soaking rainfall that could last a good portion of the night, but the severe threat should end as soon as you get the first part of the line through your area. And once it passes, then you'll be okay. Again, we're watching little notches like this for the possibility that we could have a quick spin up. We've seen one of those possibly up here in northeastern Franklin County and western parts of Titus County. That is a tornado warning right now that goes until 9:15, so about for another 15 minutes that will track this storm. That is into Wilkinson. In fact, it looks like it's passed over Wilkinson right now. Lydia, if you live in Lydia and you're watching, please head to your shelter as this storm passes through your area, and also up toward DeKalb and over toward Beaver Dam. I would just take no precautions. I would take precautions, I should say, and take no chances and head to your safe place right now. Daphne's okay. Talco, you're fine now. The storm has passed. At least the worst part of that storm has passed at this time. So that's the line up and down all the way through Pittsburgh. Mount Pleasant, little push right here. That little bulge could indicate a stronger push of wind coming into Mount Pleasant here soon. and then into Gilmer within the next few minutes, and then down toward Mineola. We'll go down the line a little bit farther again. This is coming out of Wood County into Upshur County. There's Big Sandy, so you're a few minutes away from getting a heavy downpour. The lightning continues to increase on this part of the storm here as it pushes toward Smith County. So that might be a strengthening part of the storm that could either create stronger winds, one, or two, the possibility that we have a tornado warning added to that. Back toward Athens, thunderstorms. We'll go a little farther down to the southwest toward Frankston. That storm's coming out of Crossroads, headed over toward Frankston, continuing to move to the east. This is the part of the storm that is in line for Jacksonville. So if you live in Jacksonville, or if you live in Rusk, if you live in Alto, any one of those three locations, this is going to be your part of the storm as it moves in. So I think 60, 65 mile an hour winds would be possible with that. We need some ground truth, so if anybody has experienced some winds, can report that to the Weather Service. We would certainly be, that would really be helpful, just so we know exactly how strong those winds are, and then they can relay that to the media. We can share that with you. That storm really rotating down there to the south. That had a tag on it for maybe a possible tornado. That's what those dashed lines meant, but that's headed toward Crockett. So if you live in Crockett and you're watching down in Houston County, you've got a mean thunderstorm right now headed toward Houston County. That's probably about maybe an hour away, I would say, Chandler, as we track that storm. He's going to put a track on that for us. So there's Crockett, there's Centerville. It's just about to move into Centerville, and that's going to move to the east. Roughly, these storms are moving about 45 miles an hour. As it moves to the east like that, we should expect the arrival time of that storm likely at about 9:50. So it might take for another, say, 45 minutes before it gets to Crockett. Maybe toward Porter Springs at 9:40, up toward Jewett around 9:04, and Madisonville about 9:25. So that storm really has quite a view, quite an image here. Certainly some strong winds are blowing in behind this and causing this to push out. So there may be some very strong winds in addition to the amount of lightning. That's a very strong thunderstorm right now, and that is worthy of that severe thunderstorm warning. So we may get, maybe we can go to velocity and just kind of sample the winds on that, because it could be one of these situations where the winds are beginning to really push. So it's going to kind of be in between the Houston radar site, the Dallas radar site, and the Shreveport radar site. So it's in a bit of a radar hole that might be tough to estimate. We're just going to have to go off of just like looking at that reflectivity signature and knowing from the textbooks that when you see that bulge, or when you get a situation like that, that you can have a little area of high pressure form behind it with a low pressure bookend vortices on either side of it. It could create some strong winds, and because winds always flow from high to low, they're going to like flow inward toward that high and then push the thunderstorm outward. And so we'd have the two sides of the two low pressure areas here forcing back behind and then bulging and pushing that storm out, creating almost its own little jet engine of wind, aided by the wind that's already there. All right, so we'll go back to the reflectivity since we can't get much of a great image on that. But again, right in here from Marquez towards Centerville, and that would be the storm that if it makes it to Crockett could have quite a bit of wind with it. We're going to try the Titan indicator and see what that says about that storm. That storm is warned till 9:30. Right up to the Houston County line. So maximum hail size on that, yeah, that's believable, over a quarter. Not in picking up much wind impact yet, but more of a hailer. So it's more of a hailstorm and a flooding impact storm according to our Titan indicator. So that's putting into the parameters that the storm is giving off based on radar returns, and then it uses this basically mathematics or an algorithm to figure out and place values on the probability of hail, the probability of severe hail, and then look at the wind impact just jumped up to an 8.8. So while we were on air watching this, it went from a 1 to an 8. So as we were talking about, we thought that it had the signature on reflectivity of having a very strong wind signature, and so now it looks like it could have a very, very strong wind signature. And I bring that up because Crockett, this is headed for you. So maybe another hour in Crockett. So if you've got anything that you need to bring inside, perhaps take down that you don't want the wind blowing around, this might be a good time to head out before it starts raining in Crockett, before that cell gets there. I don't think that cell is going to weaken. The model guidance that I've seen from tonight takes that right through deep East Texas, takes it through Houston County and pushes this all the way into Sabine County. and even gets a little bit stronger as it lifts north toward Nacogdoches County. So that is one mean cell. Kind of what's happening is we've seen this with some of the model guidance. It looks like the line's kind of breaking up a little bit. There might be some pockets where now we get into line segments, and so some of these line segments may take over. For instance, that one becomes stronger. The one here from Tyler to the south toward Athens looks like it's also gaining with its lightning data up toward Mineola. This kind of feels like this is going to be another segment, while that segment there weakens, and then there may be that third segment up here to the north that's going currently through Mount Pleasant. So this might be breaking up into 3 segments instead of one constant line where we would get all of that straight line wind damage. So we might find isolated wind damage reports here because it's the way it's breaking up. But that means that each individual one of these segments could become a little bit stronger and could produce an isolated apex of wind as it pushes through the area. So it's now just about moved through halfway through Smith County. Let's go ahead and take a look again from our Chase Bank building camera. We have it pointed out toward the northwest, and we'll see. We're looking over Broadway Square Mall here, of course, and then we've got the loop going westward, and then Broadway is down here on the road. You can see at the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. So we're looking generally out. That would be to the north. This is to the northwest where that storm is coming in. Not seeing a lot of lightning yet, and it could be pretty far off in the distance. The clouds certainly there. I don't see any wind yet in advance of that cell moving into Tyler at this time. All right, we'll go back to radar and continue tracking that storm. It's going to be in Tyler now in about 7 minutes. So heavy rain, thunder, lightning coming into Tyler in about 7 minutes. Bullard in about 14 minutes from now. Then White House in about 17 minutes. And then down toward White Oak at 9:36. And eventually, if this pushes eastward past White Oak, it's over to Longview at about 9:47. In the meantime, we continue to talk about that tornado portion, warned portion of the storm up in Franklin County and also up in Titus County. So we still have that, even though it looks like most of that cell has weakened or at least moved out of Franklin County and perhaps even now moving out of Titus County. So that warning goes for about the next 8 minutes. We'll see if they drop this portion of the warning or continue and let it play out until the thunderstorm has moved out of those 2 counties altogether. But that just gives us a chance to continue to track the storms as they move into really Smith County and into Tyler. And so there's a little notch trying to form here. Let's wait. We'll keep an eye on that for a little bit of time. So there could be a little wind trying to inflow in here. And then we're getting a return from the west, so we get an easterly wind, perhaps pushed by a westerly wind. And so there could be just this little type of a spin up, possibly on the leading edge of that. So sometimes we can see those spin up so fast, and it's really tough to see, but we can look for signatures like that. Up and down the line, you can get these little spin ups, and then as fast as they pop up, they disappear. Sometimes very tough to know whether or not if you suffer damage, if you had a tornado or not, just how fast they kind of spin up and go away. Sometimes it can just end up being more of a, I would call it a land spout, but more of kind of a roll cloud or a downburst or a gustnado, I guess would be the best way to term that. So you could have something of a wind gust that creates some sort of twisting briefly, and you get kind of a gustnado out of that. Very possible. Hawkins right now, that's knocking right there. It's coming into Hawkins and just on the west side of Tyler in noonday, and should be down toward Coffee City any moment. Certainly has moved into Chandler at this time with heavy rainfall. In fact, there it is. Chandler's getting the rain right now. Opelika also getting the heavy rain. Brownsboro, more station in New Harmony with the thunderstorms coming down. So these are all headed toward New Chapel Hill, White House and Browning, and Sinclair City, Turnertown, and Kilgore. They'll continue moving to the east on that. All right, so let's zoom in down on Tyler and see if we can kind of pick out some. So there's the airport. So it's coming in on 64. All right, so we got the Spur 364, all these housing areas out here, houses across from the airport. The housing division out there is seeing some heavy rain moving into your area in your neighborhood right now. There's South Donnybrook. It's going to move across Donnybrook, obviously. Here's where 69 comes into town, of course, and splits and hooks up with the loop. So right now, light rain there, 155 going out of town toward Lake Palestine. Light rain, but again, eventually, or at least some wind coming in. Not sure it's even raining in the green area. It could just be some wind being blown off from the thunderstorms. But you can see that it is really picked up toward FM 279 and 724 and County Road 1134. And then that will, in the next scan, should push it right into downtown Tyler, or at least on the west side, down into the Azalea district. And of course, everybody's nervous from last year when these straight line winds came through in April and did the damage in the Azalea district. Certainly don't need anything like that again. New lightning bolt just now popped up to the north of the airport. And we'll look over towards Shiloh Road. That's where that storm eventually will head over there. Bascom, if you live in Bascom, you're going to get some heavy rainfall that'll come through within the next few minutes. We said Tyler, we were talking about potentially about 912. So we'll be very close to that. It's probably going to be right on the money with that. It's 912 now. So perhaps it's just a little bit delayed, maybe by a minute or two, but not bad when you're making that estimation as they're, several miles away as they move in. All right, looks like it's picked up, just gotten a little bit stronger back here with some heavy rain toward Redland, out toward Brownsboro and Leagueville, and also LaRue. Bullard still watching the storm, and there it comes in right now, getting a little bit closer. And of course, it'll move into Flint and Troop and all of the areas down to the south of Tyler and even up to the north as that heavy line of thunderstorms moves through. All right, let's widen it out, and what we'll do is we'll put this into motion, and we'll be able to get the general feel for how this is kind of shaping up here. And again, this is that storm is probably the strongest of all of them. It is spinning, and it's headed toward Houston County. And right now, Houston County does not have a severe thunderstorm warning on it. I would imagine they will get one. The severe thunderstorm warnings go out to Gregg County at this time and include Smith County, include Upshur County, and those warnings go until, I believe, 9:30. So we'll see if we get, I would imagine we'll just get up and down the line severe thunderstorm warnings being issued on these storms as they march to the east. So out of Upshur County, now that storm has moved into Upshur. It's trying to move out of Wood County. It's encompassing about half of Smith County, and now just starting now to make it into the city of Tyler. Athens. We'll know soon exactly what we can sample in terms of these winds when we get them here at the TV station, and then we'll know whether or not we're dealing with still some 50 or 60 mile an hour winds. You can see, though, almost all of these cells just seem to be spinning up and down as they come through here. There's a tremendous amount of wind energy pushing these cells behind that. And remember, they're meeting up with some very humid air. And they're all along this Pacific cold front that's coming through. And that cold front, as it moves through, will drop the temperature by tomorrow morning and certainly clear out the air and drop the humidity. That's the storm that we're still talking about for about another 2.5 minutes. Northern Franklin County up into Titus County. It looks like it just has a little portion of Morris County also involved in that tornado warning, but the bulk of that storm now has moved through that area and continues to push to there it is near New Hope right now is where that circulation is. Have not heard anything whether or not we have any damage or any type of confirmed tornado. Of course, it's dark, it's tough to see, but it is radar indicated and strong enough and in an environment that is conducive to a spin up. So cannot leave that one alone until we know for sure that it has exited the area. In fact, we're still getting on our Titan indicator, still getting some rotation being picked up within that storm. All right, Naples, Bassett, up to Boston. Those thunderstorms continue. Rocky Branch, you're eventually going to see the rain move in to Rocky Branch as it moves through Mount Pleasant and through Pittsburgh. It has now left Mount Vernon and moved into Mount Pleasant at this time. Dangerfield, Lone Star, all going to get some rain and thunderstorms out of this here real soon, and eventually on down toward Avenger and over toward Jefferson and Ore City, Lake of the Pines, and then eventually Longview and Lakeport will also come into play with these showers and thunderstorms as they continue, or right now as they push into Tyler. All right, so Chandler's kind of widening things out a little bit. We're going to try to get a track on this for you as it moves through the rest of Smith County and into Gregg County. They're moving rapidly. They're moving about 45 miles an hour. They're kind of right on time now, as we thought about 9 o'clock that they'd be arriving in Smith County. So they're finally showing up here. And so the speeds now have increased up to about 50 miles an hour. So this thing's gained a little bit of steam and speed. And so now Gilmer In a couple of minutes, you'll see the thunderstorms moving through there. We've been consistently predicting White House getting the storms at 9:23 and Jacksonville roughly about 9:30. That would put them into Longview at about 9:45, then Jefferson at around 10 o'clock in Henderson, also just before 10 o'clock, and then Marshall just after 10 o'clock. So we're going to wait till this tornado warning expires up to the north. And what we'll do then is probably take a break, and then when the thunderstorms get a little closer to Longview, we'll come back on, track them into Longview. We wanted to track them into Tyler for sure, as these are some really heavy thunderstorms, and we had the potential to have some 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. That one down to the west of Crockett still looks like the worst storm out of all of them. In fact, our Titan indicator now is picking up some hail again. That is gone back and forth between either being a hailer or being a strong wind producer. Our wind indicator inside the Titan indicator jumped up to an 8.8 earlier, and it's still at just below a 7. The maximum hail size is below severe limits, but the probability that it has some hail in there is 100%. So it might be an instance where we have a lot of hail, but it's just really small, and it could lay down like a hail track as it heads north of Madisonville and over toward Houston County. But right now, there's no severe thunderstorm warning in Houston County at this time. But Grapeland would certainly be in the path of that, Elkhart and Lovelady as it moves eastward. Boy, it just has a really defined bulge here in terms of where that storm is going and what it looks like in terms of wind speeds. Again, moving to the east at roughly 50 miles an hour, that's going to put it into Grapeland, 9:48, Crockett 9:52, and Kennard around 10:10, Smith Grove about 10 o'clock this evening. So roughly half hour to 45 minutes before that storm gets into those cities. All right, let's take a look and see if our tornado warning has been allowed to expire, and it has. So let's zoom in on Tyler here. We'll spend just a little bit of time walking folks through these storms as they move right now into the city of Tyler. And maybe we can take a look now from our Chase Bank building camera looking out to the west. Should be able to see some lightning now. Now we're starting to see the wind moving into Tyler. Again, this camera is at the is on Broadway, just to the south of the loop, and it is looking off to the northwest. There you go. We got some lightning finally showing up in the sky. So that storm will continue in our direction as it moves on through. There it is. All right, so that's the storm. Of course, here's Broadway, so that the leading edge of that storm has now just moved through here. Did not look like it had tremendously strong winds. We'll give it a little bit longer and see if there are stronger winds behind that. There are the winds outside. Maybe we flip the cameras over. Oh, wow. Now let's go back to our camera. You can really see that. Either maybe push that, maybe pan that down a little bit, or switch over to our other camera outside the studio, because we just got hit with a big gust of wind. Didn't last long, but it was a big gust of wind. There it is. So take a look at this shot here. This is going to be our CBS19 studio camera, if we can go to that. And we just had a big gust of wind come through, and you can see how it's just kind of rattling the camera around. That camera is located on top of our building, and this is the loop going to the west, and that's Troop Highway down here coming from south to north. And it looks just as fast as that, so there's a little bit more wind. So it sounded like, just from hearing it go overhead, that it was an initial burst of wind, and now it's kind of settled into this. It's still blowing pretty good out there. Again, so let us know what you're experiencing in terms of wind. If you have any wind gust measurements that you can share with us, please do that as we continue tracking these storms. Here's another view from our other camera, and it looks like heavy rain now has made it to Broadway. So this is what to expect as this storm moves into Tyler. Heavy rainfall, also the big gust of wind. If you're on the east side of Tyler now or out toward Chapel Hill, this is going to be moving into those areas within about the next 5 minutes. So it is going to continue pushing over toward Longview. If you live in Longview, expect something similar to this. A big burst of wind, a heavy rainfall. It doesn't appear to be a ton of lightning with the storm, but we're going to get a live pic now from Hawkins. Let's go up to Hawkins. You can see the wind moving through Hawkins right now, and you can see the wind really starting. And they're taking shelter in a Brookshire's. All right, so the way the wind is blowing up at Hawkins, folks there are taking shelter in a Brookshire's. So it's better to be inside than trying to ride that storm out in that location there with that wind coming down like it is. Severe thunderstorm warnings continue tonight until 9:30 for Smith County and for many counties up and down the line, really from Camp County all the way southward, just to the west of Houston County. Houston County is still waiting to see if we get a severe thunderstorm warning out of that. But yeah, so this is exactly what we expected, kind of seeing what we saw out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and seeing that here in Tyler right now tonight as these storms continue to move through. So again, you're looking at Broadway looking north. That's going to be the loop going west. We're looking over Broadway Square Mall. We're looking off to the northwest. We've seen some lightning flashes there. But the camera, this is a fairly well-anchored camera, so the winds are really blowing in excess of 58 miles an hour for sure, because we have a severe thunderstorm warning. And so it takes wind gusts or wind speeds of 58 miles an hour to get a severe thunderstorm warning, and that is indeed happening. If we switch ahead over to our CBS19 studio camera, we might be able to see the very heavy rain that is coming down on the loop right now. It is pouring here at the TV station. Look at that. What a shot that is. I mean, it is just coming down along with the wind at this time. So heavy rain, wind coming through. Right now we don't have any tornado warnings on these cells, just a severe thunderstorm warning to go along with that. But we are right in the heart of this thunderstorm here in Tyler. And again, that's going to push toward Longview. So heavy rainfall all the way back to Tyler Pounds, up to Lindale, starting to lighten up a little bit in Lindale. Thunderstorm right now in Swan, pretty strong thunderstorm there. Some rain and thunder down toward noonday, and back toward Carroll, also getting some lightning and thunder. New Chapel Hill, it's just minutes away from making it to your location there, and then down toward White House, we've got those other thunderstorms. But this is the live view here as the storm is coming through, and this is probably what you're experiencing if you live anywhere in Tyler right now. You're getting these types of winds, and you're getting this type of rain, and maybe some power outages will occur. We'll have to wait and see exactly how that plays out. We also could get some tree damage, maybe some tree limbs knocked down from these powerful winds, but at this point, we don't have any reports of any type of damage or any type of tornado. All right, let's go to Mata Angeli Lopez. She's live in Hawkins for us this evening. Mata, taking shelter or outside of the Brookshires now? What did you experience up there?
So, Brett, we were driving on our way to Picton to check out some of the damage over there. But on our way here, you know, those county roads that we take, it was just very dark. And so as we were driving, as that line of storms was kind of moving to our area, the car was a little bit shaky with those winds that you're mentioning. So we decided to pull over in Hawkins, and we've taken some shelter here at Brookshires. As you can see, I'm going to step out of the frame. Ashley, our photographer here, she's going to show you what it looks like behind me. But we've just got that big band of rain behind me moving through. We see lightning, we hear thunder. The winds are very, very strong. So I'm glad that we pulled over to take some shelter here at Brookshires. The employees just very, very nice and letting us seek shelter in here. There's a couple of people that were just here to shop and get some groceries, and they're kind of stuck in here with us, so we're making the best of it, but we're definitely making sure that we're safe through the storm. Then you guys at home should also be safe. Of course, if you have anybody on the road, just make sure you call them and let them know, hey, it's here. You can hear that thunderclap behind me. That is the storm is definitely here. So I'm going to send it back to you, Brett, so you can let the people at home know what's going on.
All right, thanks, Mata. Please be careful out there. She's in Hawkins reporting and giving us a great view of what that storm looks like up in the Hawkins area. Again, they are headed toward Picton, where there was the tornado damage reported earlier tonight. Right now, we have the severe thunderstorm warning till 9:45 for Smith County. We can hear the rain on the rooftop outside of our studio, and our Titan indicator is showing us the strength of that storm, and it looks like we've got a pretty good updraft. We have some hail also coming down at this time. In fact, our hail and wind impact are equal at about a 4. The maximum hail size inside this storm could be just bigger than Nichols at this time. The probability of hail in there is about a 50% chance. The chance that it's quarter size or bigger is pretty small at this time. It's only about a 30% chance of rain. But we'll take that Titan indicator off and we can correlate what's going on here with the radar image with the picture and the lightning that's coming down. And I'll step out so you can see both of the lightning coming down over Tyler right now, moving into Chapel Hill, and then just what you're going to experience. And that's the wind that we're seeing outside the CBS19 studio, and also the reduced visibility as those storms move through. So you're getting some pretty consistent wind gusts. What I've noticed here is that it's not just like an instant gust that lasts maybe a minute or two. These have been sustained gusts and sustained winds blowing at better than 50 miles an hour for about the last 5 to 6, 7 minutes since the storm moved into the Tyler area, maybe even about the last 10 minutes that they've been blowing like this at a really strong clip. So this is a powerful storm, and it was expected to be that way, and it's certainly playing out in this type of environment that we are in. Very humid air earlier today. Not a strong cold front, a Pacific cold front, but you had a powerful low-level jet stream over top of it, picking up the air, helping it to rise, and then also pushing the thunderstorms. And then on top of that, you had a surface low pressure that was moving across parts of East Texas, and that was promoting a little bit of twisting in the atmosphere. There was a boundary up to the north earlier that was kind of draped along our northern counties. We saw the focus of that boundary interact with some cells moving northward, and we had tornado warnings again in Hopkins County, in Franklin County. In fact, Franklin County's had 2 tornado warnings today. And then we had a couple of tornado warnings over in Marion and Harrison County and up toward Cass County. Right now, it's not tornado warned. It is a severe thunderstorm warning. And you can see the severe thunderstorm warning does entail all of Tyler, all of Noonday, back toward Tyler Pounds and over toward Browning. And this is headed toward Liberty City and White Oak. So Longview, it's going to get to you soon. It's getting just to White House. Here's Longview, so it's only a few miles away from Longview. And as it moves into Longview, I want you guys to expect heavy rainfall. I want you to expect some strong winds that we're seeing here in Tyler in excess of 55 to 60 miles an hour. And it should be moving into Longview here by, let's say, about 9:44. So we're only about 15 minutes away from it getting into Longview, and then into Tatum at about 10 o'clock, and then to Marshall just after 10 o'clock. Something that meteorologist Chandler Jordan was just telling me about, the Storm Prediction Center analyzing the atmosphere here tonight, and we have some capping building in quickly as the air is cooling and the atmosphere is beginning to sort of kind of become more, let's say, homogeneous from top to bottom. But at the same time, the low-level winds are also increasing. So the question is, as we head through the rest of the night, which one wins out? Does the low-level jet stream winds, does it overtake that capping ability, or do we put a lid on this atmosphere and then the thunderstorms are essentially going to weaken as they head to the east? So we'll have to wait and see. That might take about another hour to kind of play out and see exactly what is what. Some of the model guidance from earlier today suggested that these storms would weaken once they got out into the Henderson area, out toward Nacogdoches, Lufkin, and over toward Marshall. So we'll see. We still have a little bit of time to determine that. We know for sure that this is going to be over in Longview about 9:44. It's probably over in Marshall by about 10 o'clock. And then it's going to be moving into our deep East Texas counties between about 10 and midnight. Crockett now and Houston County under the severe thunderstorm warning for that cell there that is moving through Centerville and moving toward Crockett. And again, some very strong winds are likely with this cell. This is moving to the east, like all of these cells tonight, at about 50 miles an hour. They have really picked up some forward speed, forward momentum. So that means it's taking it into the northern portion of that cell, takes it into Jacksonville here in about 5 minutes. Porter Springs in about 15 minutes. Crockett, 9:52. Lovelady, 10 o'clock. Trinity and Groveton between 10:15 and 10:30 as that moves eastward. The worst part of that storm is right here, and that's headed toward Porter Springs and Crockett. So I think Crockett is right, not too far away from, I think, what will be the strongest winds. And we've seen more lightning out of this cell than any of the cells up and down the line. So as that portion of the storm moves into Crockett, there may be some 60 plus, maybe closer to 70 mile an hour winds within that. We tried to sample the winds inside of that cell earlier. It's just simply too far away from the Houston site and the Dallas site to really get a good look inside. So we have to sort of look at the shape of what we've studied in school and estimate about what the winds are going to be like. This is where you have a storm spotter or some somebody else giving you some ground truth as to the exact speed of the winds. So unfortunately, that's just in one of those overlap areas where all 3 radar beams just sort of get attenuated or bent back down to the ground and can't get a good look at that, or actually just shoot over top of that thunderstorm. And it's pretty far away from all of those. So that's what our estimation is that we probably have some severe thunderstorm winds within that cell for sure. Tyler, heart of the matter right now. The thunderstorms, though, a little bit of a weakening on the winds now as this moves into eastern parts of Smith County. White House just starting to show up there. Look at Teaselsville getting heavy rainfall at this time. Troop, you're also ready to get some rain up toward Gladewater. That shower and thunderstorm activity will move into Gladewater. We can still hear the rain. It almost sounds like there might even be a little bit of hail kind of pinging off of our roof here at the station. Wouldn't be surprised if we had a little bit of hail within this cell. It's certainly the type of a storm that would produce at least some small hail. Large hail was a concern for these storms as they moved through, and also some quick spin-up tornadoes. We haven't seen anything quite like that yet. There's more of wind being forced out of the front of that instead of it remaining a sharp, tight line with sharp edges where we see these little spin-ups, even though I still see little notches like this that can be concerning, but they kind of spin up or form and then move away. What ended up happening is you have winds moving southward along the front, and so as they encounter westward winds, then it creates this kind of little spin. So you got west winds coming in from the west, you have southerly winds or southeasterly winds ahead of that feeding or inflow into the storm. And of course, if you get kind of 2 things coming in 2 directions like a top, it kind of starts to spin a little bit. So there is some natural spinning along the leading edge of thunderstorms like this that sometimes can create quick little spin-ups. Hawkins is up here. That's where Bada Angeli Lopez reported from just a little bit ago with that thunderstorm. And again, she's headed toward Picton, which is going to be up to the north to the northwest. Mineola, right now, it looks like the rain's letting up there. We're still waiting on the rain to arrive at Kilgore and Overton and Turnertown. And at this point, it does not look like the severe thunderstorm. Well, yes, they did. I just said that, and then they probably just issued the severe thunderstorm warning now till 10:30 for Marion and Harrison County and also Panola County, and now the northern end of Rusk County. So where are these cells going as they move 50 miles an hour? They are headed toward Kilgore at 9:45 and Longview in that same ballpark at 9:45. Hallsville about 10 o'clock, Jefferson at 10:05, Marshall about 10:18, and Vivian around 10:30. So these are continuing to work their way eastward with lots of thunder and lightning up and down the line. And Henderson, again, is going to be one of those towns that gets hit by this, even though it didn't show up here on our list. Henderson is likely in about the same time frame as White Oak. So if you live in Henderson, look for the storms to arrive in Henderson about 9:35 to 9:40 this evening. So you're looking at maybe about 8 to 10 minutes from now when they get to Henderson as they move to the east. Longview now, it's just a few minutes away, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes away. It's at 9:48, it's 9:32. So we're looking at about 14 minutes from getting there. Maybe Henderson's about the same ballpark as Longview, about 9:48. So, and then Jacksonville, now those thunderstorms are moving into Jacksonville. Again, these are moving east, slightly northeast, 50, 52 miles an hour. So there you go. So we got Longview still at 9:48. We have Rusk at 9:54. Henderson now at 9:59. So it's going to take a little longer for this portion of the cell to move up to Henderson. This portion of the cell will move between Henderson and Longview. So Laneville is 10:08. Marshall is 10:16. Dotson's going to be 10:28. So all up and down that line, 60, 70 mile an hour winds. That's what you can expect in Longview, in Henderson, in Jacksonville, Laneville, and Rusk. And we can tell you from being here in Tyler, what we experienced, you're going to experience downstream. So hopefully if you were watching us, you were seeing our camera, we showed you the wind and the way the wind just rattled that camera around and blew it around with some very strong gusts. And so I think you're going to see the same exact thing for about 10 to 15 minutes. That's how long the winds lasted here. And then finally now we're starting to see it calm down a little bit, and it's just rain at this time. So we're seeing steady rain, still seeing some lightning in the Tyler area. But what we saw earlier were those strong winds that produced some severe wind gusts. Haven't heard any reports of any power outages and or damage. That is certainly good news. All right, another look at some of the cities that these line of showers and thunderstorms are headed for. Grapeland and Crockett, Laneville, Alto. Mount Enterprise, first time we've been able to mention Mount Enterprise, 1018. Pollock at 1032. So the Mount Enterprise is going to be up here. That's this portion of the cells that comes out of Jacksonville, heads over toward southern parts of Rusk County, northern Nacogdoches County, right in the Mount Enterprise area. So look for some very strong winds coming out of that. That is still the strongest cell on CBS19 radar tonight in terms of lightning, in terms of the shape of the cell, and in terms of when we've played this and put this into motion, that we can see it rotating and the way it's rotating. It's been rotating like a top as it spun from Waco all the way. In fact, I believe that cell may have been, when it was near Killeen, a tornado-warned storm, but hasn't been for several hours. Still need to keep an eye on it in case it does get another warning on that as it spins into the environment over Deep East Texas that might be supportive of another tornado warning. Jacksonville, Cherokee County right now, not under any type of severe warning right now. So we'll keep an eye on that and see if they get added to it. Looks like a little outflow developing here, perhaps ahead of the storm. Maybe, as I talked about earlier, breaking up into two segments where this segment here is taking over, and then this portion of the storm, as it moves toward Tyler, is also taking over. All right, let's zoom into Longview, and then we're going to wrap things up and get ready for the 10 o'clock news. We'll zoom in here to Gregg County and Longview, just to let folks in Longview know where that storm is. So it's just now starting to move into Liberty City, White Oak, East Mountain, and Kilgore. It'll be in Longview here in about 10 minutes. Wind, hail, and rain will be what you can expect in Longview and in Hallsville. All right, for meteorologist Chandler Jordan, I'm CBS 19 Chief Meteorologist Brad Anthony. Thanks for watching tonight as we guide you through this really first night of more significant severe weather that we've seen in 2023. We'll be back at 10 o'clock with an update and a wrap-up of today's severe weather.